6:45 a.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danishka Madhavala, read by Sound Thavam. Bilateral relations between Iran and Sri Lanka have strengthened. The price of imported milk powder reduced. The Met Department warned that heat index is expected to increase up to caution level in some places of the country today as well. Farmers to get financial subsidy for paddy cultivation activities in the 2024 yellow season from next week. World Malaria Day falls today. In foreign news, the US secretly sends long-range missiles to help Ukraine. Iranian President Dr. Ibrahim Raisi has called on President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Presidential Secretariat in Colombo yesterday. The President of the Islamic Republic of Iran was ceremoniously welcomed by his Sri Lankan counterpart along with a guard of honor and other pageantry. The Iranian President Dr. Ibrahim Raisi and President Ranil Wickremesinghe held one-on-one discussions, followed by a bilateral meeting between representatives of both nations at the Presidential Secretariat. Dr. Ibrahim Raisi arrived in Sri Lanka yesterday in response to a special invitation extended by President Ranil Wickremesinghe, marking the first visit of an Iranian president to Sri Lanka since former President Dr. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's visit in April 2008. During his one-day official visit, President Raisi participated in a public ceremony marking the inauguration of the Uma Oya Multipurpose Development Project. This project, following the Mahaveli Development Project, is one of the largest irrigation projects in Sri Lanka. The Uma Oya Multipurpose Development Project is a significant endeavour of utmost importance to Sri Lanka. Its primary objective is to address the water scarcity in the southeastern dry region of the country by redirecting an annual average of 145 million cubic meters of excess water from the Uma Oya Basin to the Kirindi Oya Basin. This redirection is executed with meticulous attention to minimize any adverse effects on the environment and pre-existing water resources. As a result of this project, around 4,500 hectares of new land and 1,500 hectares of existing agricultural land in the Monoragla district will receive irrigation water. Iran and Sri Lanka yesterday signed 5 memoranda of understanding aimed at bolstering bilateral relations between the two countries. Signed in the presence of President Ranil Wickremesinghe and President Dr. Ibrahim Raisi, the 5 segments will cover cooperation between the two countries in the fields of film, media, tourism, cooperatives, libraries and cultural, scientific, technical and sports. The Iranian leader was in Sri Lanka for a one-day official visit, during which he participated in a public ceremony to declare open the Uma Oya Multipurpose Development Project. He later travelled to Colombo, where he had a one-on-one bilateral talk with his Sri Lankan counterpart. Dr. Raisi was ceremoniously welcomed by President Wickremesinghe, along with a guard of honor and other pageantry at the Goldface Green. According to the Milk Powder Importers Association, the price of imported milk powder will be reduced with effect from today. Accordingly, the price of a 1 kilogram pack of imported milk powder will drop by 250 rupees, while the price of the 250 grams pack will be slashed by 100 rupees. The Met Department warned that the heat index, the temperature felt on the human body, is expected to increase up to caution level in some places in the northern, north-central, western, Sabaragamuwa, eastern, southern and northwestern provinces and the Monoragla district today as well. The heat index forecast is calculated by using relative humidity and maximum temperature, and this is the condition that is felt on the body. This is not the forecast of maximum temperature. It is generated by the Department of Meteorology for the next day period and prepared by using global numerical weather prediction model data. The effect of the heat index on the human body is mentioned, and it is prepared on the advice of the Ministry of Health and Indigenous Medical Services. The government has decided to provide financial subsidy to farmers to use for the paddy cultivation in the 2024 yellow season. In this regard, the Cabinet memorandum submitted by the Minister of Agriculture and Plantation Industries, Mahinda Amaravira, was approved by the Cabinet last March. Accordingly, arrangements have been made to provide an amount of 15,000 rupees per hectare to the farmers who are cultivating paddy this year as well. It is acceptable to use this money for buying fertilizer or for any other purpose. for paddy cultivation. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Veerasena Gamage of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was sworn in as a Member of Parliament yesterday. He took oath before the Speaker, Mahinda Abebadana, soon after the parliamentary proceedings kicked off. Earlier this month, the Election Commission had named Veerasena to fill the parliamentary seat that fell vacant following the demise of the SLPP's Anuradhapura District MP H. Nandasena. Accordingly, Veerasena was next in line on the SLPP list for the Anuradhapura District after securing 38,242 votes upon contesting the 2020 parliamentary elections. He managed to be placed 9th in the preferential votes list. World Malaria Day falls today. World Malaria Day is an occasion to highlight the need for continued investment and sustained political commitment for malaria prevention and control. It was instituted by the WHO member states during the World Health Assembly of 2007. The theme of this year is Accelerating the Fight Against Malaria for a More Equitable World. The World Health Organization says in recent years, progress in reducing malaria has ground to a standstill. Not only does malaria continue to directly endanger lives and cost health, but it also perpetuates a vicious cycle of inequity. People living in the most vulnerable conditions, including pregnant women, infants, children under 5 years of age, refugees, migrants, internally displaced people and indigenous peoples, continue to be disproportionately impacted. That's local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
The new High Commissioner of Pakistan to Sri Lanka, retired Major General Fahim Al-Aziz, called on the Speaker, Mahinda Abebadana, in Parliament yesterday. The Secretary-General of Parliament, Mrs. Kushani Rohanadira, and the Deputy High Commissioner of Pakistan, Wajid Hasan Hashmi, were also present at this meeting. During the cordial discussions, attention was paid to matters of mutual importance and further strengthening of the enduring friendship between the two countries. The High Commissioner, who served in Pakistan's security sector for a long time, recalled that during his service, he got to know many Sri Lankan military officers during the training sessions held between the two countries. Meanwhile, he also mentioned that he expects to develop the religious tourism sector between Sri Lanka and Pakistan. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, Transport, Highways and Mass Media Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena officially informed the Anuradhapura Atamasthanaadhipati, the Venerable Pallegama Hemarathana Nayaka Thera, on Monday that it is not possible to start operating the train to Anuradhapura before Posan Poe Day, as the reconstruction work of the Northern Railway line has to be carried out further. On this occasion, the minister explained to the Venerable Pallegama Hemarathana Thera that due to the construction of the new elephant crossing under the railway line in Galgamur, the Talava, Galgamur and Tambuttegama railway stations are still undergoing renovations, and it is not possible to resume the train service before Posan Full Moon Poe Day, and came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Making headlines this morning, the US secretly sends long-range missiles to help Ukraine. 7 teens with alleged extremist ideology arrested in Sydney raids. And Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez holds public duties as wife faces inquiry. Ukraine has begun using long-range ballistic missiles secretly provided by the US against invading Russian forces, American officials have confirmed. The weapons are part of a $300 million aid package approved by US President Joe Biden in March, and they arrived this month. They have already been used at least once to strike Russian targets in occupied Crimea, the US media reports. Mr. Biden has now signed a new $61 billion package of aid for Ukraine. The US previously supplied Ukraine with a mid-range version of the Army tactical missile systems, but had been reluctant to send anything more powerful, partly over concerns about compromising US military readiness. However, Mr. Biden is said to have secretly given the green light to send the long-range system, which can fire missiles to distances of up to 300 kilometers in February. Australian police have arrested 7 teenagers as part of a wave of counter-terrorism raids across Sydney, claiming it was likely the youth may have been plotting an attack. The suspects are believed to share a religiously motivated violent extremist ideology, say the police. The raids are linked to last week's stabbing of an Assyrian bishop, which police declared a terrorist act. The police say the offenders were juveniles aged 15 to 17. The Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has suspended public duties to stop and reflect on whether to remain in the job after a court opened a preliminary inquiry into his wife. The court said it was responding to corruption claims against Begoña Gómez, and Mr. Sanchez said his wife would defend her honor and work with the judiciary. The complaint against Begoña Gómez was raised by anti-corruption campaigners Manos Limpias, who have taken part in a number of high-profile court cases in recent years and are led by a man linked to the far right. Back to the headlines of the world news. The US secretly sends long-range missiles to help Ukraine. 7 teens with an alleged extremist ideology arrested in Sydney raids. And Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez holds public duties as wife faces inquiry. That concludes this bulletin of world news, and on to development news. The chairman, Colombo Tea Traders Association, Sanjay Herat, said that the current Russian-Ukraine and the ongoing Middle East crisis have not affected the Sri Lankan tea exports to these countries, as there was no cancellation of orders. The chairman was speaking at the launch of the Colombo International Tea Convention, to be held from July 24th to the 26th in Colombo. He said that during the peak of the Red Sea crisis, there were some concerns as the freight rates were high. He, however, said that the depreciation of the US dollar against the Sri Lankan rupee is a major concern to the industry. He said that tea exports were down last year. He also said that Sri Lanka's tea value, due to its value-added quality, always remains around $1.5 high against other tea products in other countries. That's development news. We take a look at sports news next.
Moving on with sports news.
Ousmane Dembele and Kylian Mbappe both scored twice as Paris Saint-Germain moved one step closer to the Ligue 1 title. PSG must, however, wait to confirm their third consecutive title after Monaco beat Lille 1-0 in a later fixture, thanks to a Youssouf Fofana goal. PSG's win were effectively sealed halfway through the first half as Dembele opened the scoring on 19 minutes, before Mbappe netted with a clever flick just 3 minutes later. Mbappe found Dembele for his second of the game, producing sublime skill by nutmegging Nathaniel Ache and crossing into the box before doubling his own tally in stoppage time. The France captain's strikes made him the first French player to reach the 25-goal mark in 4 consecutive seasons in one of Europe's top 5 leagues. That came to you in sports news. We take a look at business news next.
Go ekakiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna aswahagena dagapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Itru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Tesla has announced its profits fell sharply in the first 3 months of the year to $1.13 billion compared to the $2.51 billion in 2023. It caps a difficult period for the electric vehicle maker, which, faced with falling sales, has announced thousands of job cuts. Boss Elon Musk remains bullish about its prospects, telling investors the launch of new models will be brought forward. Its share price has risen, but analysts say it continues to fight significant challenges, including from lower-cost rivals. That's business news. Economic news up next.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyameta set wenna aswahagena dagapu hina habe karanna.
The all-new NSB Itru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On economic news, shares in the US tech giant Meta have sunk in US after hours trading despite better-than-expected earnings. The Facebook and Instagram owners said expenses would be higher this year as it spends heavily on artificial intelligence. Its shares fell more than 15% after it said it expected to spend billions of dollars more than it had previously predicted in 2024. Meta has been updating its ad-buying products with AI tools to boost earnings growth. It has also been introducing more AI features on its social media platforms, such as chat assistants. That's economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the western, Sabragama, central, northwestern and southern provinces after 2 p.m. Showers or thundershowers may occur over the coastal areas of Galle to Pottuville via Matara and Hambantota during the morning as well. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the Sabragama, central and Uva provinces during the morning. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. Bilateral relations between Iran and Sri Lanka strengthened. The price of imported milk powder reduced. The Met Department warned that the heat index is expected to increase up to caution level at some places in the country today as well. Farmers to get financial subsidy for paddy cultivation activities in the 2024 yellow season from next week. World Malaria Day falls today. And the US secretly sends long-range missiles to help Ukraine. With that, we conclude this morning's news broadcast, and now it's back to your host, right across the glass pane, all set and ready to keep you well entertained this Thursday morning. A very good morning to you, Dilshan, and it's all yours.